Well, hey there, it's Catherine from CatherinePuller.com. In my first Back to the Basics video series video, we made this card using the Spot On Sentiment stamp set. Made a really simple card. I showed you the basics of stamping, and so now we're going to build on that. I have big plans for this video and lots of techniques to pack in, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is cut and score the cardstock. I'm scoring at 5 1/4, and then I'm going to cut at 4 1/2. This is going to give me a portrait style cardstock base. So I cut and scored 2 at once, and I'm just going to put 1 aside for my next card since it's already cut and ready. And then I'm going to cut the layers for this card. So I'm going to cut at 4, and then I'm going to turn it and cut at 5 1/4. And then I'm going to cut this one at 5. And then I'm going to turn it. I want to cut it down 1 more 1/4 inch, so it's 3 3/4. Now I have 2 layers for my card base, and each layer has a 1/8 inch border all the way around. In my first video in this big back, I'm having a hard time saying that. So in the first Back to the Basics video in my series, we used the Rock and Red Orange Twist Grass Skirt in Fiesta Blue. I would also like to introduce Lime Ricky and Tiara, and we're going to do a fun little technique here. So when you have basic stamps and basic inks, there's really a lot that you can do with them. So we're going to cover quite a few techniques in this one video. So I'm using my Happy, and I'm going to ink up the stamp with Lime Ricky on one side, Fiesta Blue on the other side. Now see in the middle, it makes a little bit of a harsh line there. So I'm just going to take my ink blending tool, and if you keep watching in this series, you will see other things to do with the ink blending tool. We're just going to use that to soften the line between the 2 colors. And then we'll go ahead and stamp that down. And you can see a gorgeous blend between those 2 ink colors. Now I want to do a little masking with this card. So we're going to stamp it again onto scratch paper. This is just copy paper from the copier. You're going to grab some scissors. I like these Cutter Bee scissors. They're nice and sharp all the way to the point. They have a nice size blade on them. And I'm just going to cut all the way around this image. And it helps when you're doing, a lot of people like to call this fussy cutting. And you'll know why if you start cutting more detailed images, why it's called fussy cutting. But I'm just cutting around the edge. And if you turn your paper as opposed to your scissors, it works really well. So now we're going to take this Zig 2-way glue pen. And this one is a chisel tip. This is brand new, so you'll see it's a white tip right now. You're just going to use a piece of scratch paper. I'm pushing in that tip and I'm holding it down. This is going to let the glue come into the tip. See, it's starting to get blue. There we go. Now it's ready to use. So I'm going to add this to the back of this piece of cards or piece of paper, which I'm going to end up using as a mask. I'm going to let this dry. If I put it on to my project now, it will be like a glue, but I'm going to let it dry and then it will be sticky, so it's like a removable adhesive. I'm going to finish off the sentiment with the word everything, which comes from the Spot On stamp set. And then we're going to move on to using some floral stamps. So I have the Amazing Floral stamp set. This is such a great set. It's really a basic, well-rounded stamp set with some really fun greetings. I love all the little pieces in here, and they build really great floral cards. So before I start that, I think this is pretty dry. I'm just making sure it's not still too wet because I don't want it to rip my cardstock. But I'm going to add it right over my circle, and this will mask what I've got going on here. Then I'm going to start building the flowers around the circle sentiment. So I'm just going to stamp a few leaves, and then I'm going to stamp a few flowers in Fiesta Blue, and then I'm going to go on to the next. We're going to add in some tiara. And this is one of those times where I really like having a lot of these small blocks, because I don't have to take the flowers off each time I want to change stamp and color. We're going to do some in orange twist. And a few in Be Mine. I think I want to add a little more to this, so I'm going to grab some more leaves and just fill in a bit. And then I feel like this is a little bit too symmetrical kind of going down there. This is a little bit too much of a straight line for me, so I want to add a little more in there. And we'll just keep filling in. Okay, so now we're going to remove the mask very carefully, and it looks like the flowers and leaves were stamped behind the circle. So it gives you the illusion of having layers in dimension on your card when it really is a flat card. This is one of those techniques that is going to make you look like a rock star card maker, which of course you already are. When I adhere my layers together, I could have a white layer in between there and my card base, which looks amazing, and I do that a lot on my cards. But what if I want a colored layer? So I can make perfectly matching cardstock for all of my ink colors by doing what is called direct to paper. So I'm just going to take my ink pad and run it across my cardstock. Remember, these ink pads are foam, so you want to be a little bit gentle with them. Don't press down too terribly hard. You don't want to rip your ink pads. But they are really versatile because look at the great color you get. So we do sell ink refills in our store. So if you get a little bit low on ink in your ink pad by doing a lot of direct to paper like that, you can just very easily refill that ink pad. Very quick and easy to do. Now, whenever I refill an ink pad, I always make sure it's not over inked because sometimes that happens. So just stamp it off on scratch paper a couple times to make sure. So if I had a very detailed stamp, like, let's see. Ah, that looks good. But if you have a really detailed stamp and you ink it with an over-inked ink pad, it may blur out the details of your image, kind of like this part of the Y right here. It got filled in with ink a bit. So if you over-ink your ink pad, just take a scratch piece of paper and dab it down on the paper to remove some of the ink, and you'll be all set. Now I'll just use some of my liquid glue to adhere these layers together. And then I have one last finishing touch to make your cards really shine. So we used this chisel tip two-way glue pen, and we also have a fine tip glue pen. So this one is brand new, so I'm also going to have to just prime it before I'm ready to use it. And then I can take it and I can add to any part of my project that I want. I can just add a little dot of glue. I'm just going in the center of all of the flowers. And then I have glass slipper glitter. It's a clear, gorgeous, amazing glitter. We're just going to pour it over where I have the two-way glue added to my card. And that is going to add an amazing little bit of shimmer to your card. So that's that. Quite a few techniques on this card. Hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned a lot. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, share with your friends, and come on and hang out with me more often. There will be another video for you coming up in this Back to Basics series. Thanks for hanging with me.